Welcome to another episode of the Know Your Power podcast. I am your host, Juliarene. And today, guys, we have a special guest over Zoom, Dala McDevitt. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited. We have so much to go over today, guys. She has had the most incredible business. I've been following her for a couple of years now and just seeing it grow and how much she just cares about people who follow her and her own clients and educating. I think that's one of the biggest things that I notice about you, Dayla, is how much you educate the people that are your clients and the people that are following you.
Yeah, that's really nice of you to say. It's kind of like the cornerstone to people actually being able to make changes, right? I think there's a lot of information out there that's just kind of like do this, do that, but it doesn't really teach people the why behind the actions that they're taking. And I think that that piece is really important so people can actually connect with the actions and make lasting changes. So we really, really value education for sure.
I love that
I
so
love
much.
that too. I feel like when you're educated on something, it's a lot easier to stick with it versus just like blindly trusting your coach or whoever is giving you advice.
Yeah. I'm curious
Exactly.
too, like with the beginning of your fitness journey, and we'll kind of go into like your whole story, but was that a aspect that you felt like was missing from this industry, like actual education? Is that why you do it so much?
Yeah, that's super intuitive of you. Yeah, I basically was like, I had turned around, I was 25, 26 years old, and I had a nursing degree and I was a practicing nurse. And I felt like I knew absolutely nothing about fitness and nutrition. And I was kind of like, how did I get through the entire school system as well as nursing school? And I work in the medical profession. And I've never heard of a macro. I couldn't tell you what protein does in my body. I couldn't even begin to speculate how many calories I need in a day. Nutritional labels just say based on a 2000 calorie diet. And I was like, how do we know nothing about our own bodies? And you can turn around and be 30 years old and you still don't even know how to feed yourself and how to exercise.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. And I just remembered that you were a nurse before this. I remember when I followed you, you would show like it was a couple years ago, but you would
Yeah.
post pictures of yourself in your uniform. And I was like, this is so crazy. So guys, we are really in for lots of education here, but we kind of want to like take it back. Like we want to take it back. How did you get to be this incredible business owner, wife, and honestly, influence in the community? Where did it all start?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I kind of just alluded to that. I like many women struggled with eating disorders growing up, just the whole like got to eat less if you want to be skinny, right? Pasta's bad, bread is the enemy. You want to be doing cardio because Lord knows we do not want to be bulky, so like avoid a leg press at all costs. We just want to be as small as possible. And like I said, I was 3 years into a nursing career and I was about 25, 26 years old. And so I'd been struggling with under eating and eating disorders for about 11 or 12 years at that point. And frankly, it was just exhausting. I was kind of just getting to a tipping point of like, all I do is think about like how much cardio I need to do, like relative to how much I ate. I was tired of like starving myself all day if I wanted to go out to eat with friends that night. I was in constant negotiations about like how much I was allowed to eat or drink relative to my activity level and my like abstinence from eating. And I was like, there's just got to be a better way. And actually, Instagram is what sparked the biggest change in me because I started using social media more. It started becoming more popularized. And frankly, I discovered accounts of women who lifted weights and they were all talking about the same things. They were all saying like carbs are your friend. I eat bread every day after my lifts. I cook all my food in butter. And I seriously was baffled. I was like, scrolling their accounts and I was like, why are these women talking about eating carbohydrates? Like, how have they unlocked this magical secret to like having a positive relationship with food? And at that point, I didn't understand it. I didn't really know how they were achieving it, but I just decided like, I'm going to start emulating exactly what they do. If they're not doing that much cardio and they're doing a lot of resistance training and they have figured out how to like eat food and like release themselves of a bunch of food guilt, then I'm going to get a gym membership. And I got my first gym membership in 2016 when I was 26 years old.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. And I love that you said that because that was a very similar story for me.
Me
And
too is what I was like, I feel like every woman can relate to that
yeah,
statement.
you just see someone and you're like, wait, that's possible. And it just blows your mind. You're like, I have been struggling so much. You feel like a hamster just running on a wheel and there's no stop. And you're like, wait, there's another option. And it was so much healthier. So that's really, really cool. So you got into the gym in 2016 and you got your first membership and you were 26 years old. Then what happened after that?
Yes. So I made my Instagram public, and that's whenever I made my Instagram, Dayla loves dumbbells. Cause I was like, I barely knew what a dumbbell was, but I was like, I'm going to make this fitness Instagram. And I decided I'm going to blog about what it's like going from kind of like the classic cardio bunny under eater. And I'm just going to blog about what I'm learning, how weightlifting is impacting me, what I'm learning about nutrition. Of course, never with the intention to make a business out of it. I was actually on the trajectory to get a master's in nursing, and I wanted to become a nurse practitioner at the time. But I was like, this has been really hard for me, and other Instagram accounts have been really influential. So now I'd like to see if I could become an Instagram account, and if it helps anybody. So I did that for about 2 years, discovering macros, discovering lifting, setting a lot of those baseline foundations and getting a lot better at things like form. And during that time, I was really fortunate to have amassed a pretty decent following. And I had like 30 or 40,000 followers on Instagram. And people started messaging me like, hey, can you write me a nutrition program? Like, hey, can you write me a workout program? I'm sure that you've experienced that multitude of times, in your path as well. And I started sitting around thinking about it. And I was like, well, why not? I'm really passionate about this. And this person wants some help. So I got a NASM CPT. I got online and was like, I need to legitimize myself. And I got a NASM CPT and I was like, okay, I'm now going to offer one-on-one coaching and just see what the response is like. And I was, really, really fortunate because after multiple years of kind of nurturing an audience without an offer, once I finally launched an offer, the response was really overwhelming. And, I hesitate to already say the rest is history, but it kind of felt like that. It was like in March of 2018. So right about in 2 years, I decided to open up for coaching. By the end of that year, 8 months later, Sean and I both quit our jobs. We had 150 clients in the community.
That's
and we were just
amazing.
both full-time online coaches.
Wow. That is so amazing. That is crazy. And I think that's honestly the first time that I met your husband, Sean, because me and him were in a kind of like an Austin fitness community group together on Instagram. And so I only knew him on social media. And then that's how I found you. And I met him in person and he was just so bubbly. Hi, I'm in that group with you. Nice to meet you. He was so freaking cute. Now, how long have y'all been together?
We've been together for 7 years now.
Oh my God.
What's
That's
funny
amazing.
is, everything happens for a reason. That gym membership that I got in 2016, I'd been working out there for about 2 weeks. I was so new to the gym, had never been at the gym ever. Guess who walks up and hits on me?
No.
Within the first month of me being at the gym. So I was okay. I was like, these Instagram girls knew what was up because now I've got all these hot men coming at me, and I got a new man at the gym, and now I got a gym buddy.
That is amazing.
That's so cute too.
All the fitness girls listening to this are like, oh, can that be me? Because it's so they align with you. And I think that that's really important. And one thing that I do find about a lot of people that are really passionate about health and fitness and taking care of themselves is that it trickles into other aspects of their life. That's how I met my boyfriend, Zach, not at the gym, but our first date was at the gym. And we just aligned on so many aspects of our life, spiritually, physically, mentally, all of these things. So I'm really happy that you guys have found that together.
Yeah, that's so cool that's kind of how you guys met too. And that was your first date.
Yeah.
I know you guys mentioned that you were both able to quit your job and do coaching. Do you guys do it together, or you each have your own separate training?
No, we now actually do it together. So I was solo coaching at the time. Sean also had no intention of joining me, but I was getting really overwhelmed between nursing full time and then coaching. So I was like, can I put you in on some admin tasks? So he was helping me with like invoicing, customer support, contracts. And he's along for the ride the whole journey, and I'm kind of like talking his ear off every night about macros and fitness and programming, and he's doing a lot of this stuff with me. He's also he was a D1 athlete in college. So he was actually a lot more familiar with like lifting and exercise than me. And he taught me a lot of stuff in the beginning. So finally, summer came around and I was like, I think that you could start like taking some clients with me. Like I'm maxed out. I can't take any more clients. And he was like equally as passionate, kind of like, let me in, coach. And so we opened up his roster as well. And then we were both full before you know it. He was equally as passionate about it. So now our company is owned. We both co-own it. I own 51% and he owns 49% because he said that it was really important to him that it's a woman-owned business.
Oh, I like that.
Oh my God, that
So
makes
he
me
gave
want
me
to
an
cry.
extra 1% because he was like, girl power.
I love that. It makes me love him even more. That is so adorable. Oh my God. So you guys have both, on your own have started this business, and then he's come on with you, and you've been able to help so many people, probably all over the world, and especially have a big impact in the Austin area. And now I kind of want to go back a little bit to where you were struggling before you're the business owner that you are now. Like, when you were in that kind of cardio bunny phase, because I know that there might be a lot of people listening to this that are either still in it and trying to move out of it, or it can help them really, analyze their past as well. So
That's what I want to obtain. It's another like such a hardship actually getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it just I'm trying to like reflect back at some of like the key things that really helped me during that time. And I think it's really just making the decision and committing to the new path, regardless of whether or not it's, scary or you falter along the way, which I know a lot of people say things like that, but you make a new decision that you're like, hey, I want to start healing my relationship with food. I want to start eating more food, and I want to start going to the gym. But then perhaps, a few weeks into doing that, you notice the scale go up, or you're not sweating as much, and you start to feel these pulls towards these past behaviors that, we've been, speaking personally, I was kind of addicted to for the longest time. I was addicted to feeling small, to my clothes feeling baggy, to, running 6 miles and just feeling completely empty, losing like 3 pounds of water. And when you decide that you're going to go on a different path, you have to know and accept that it's going to be different. And as those little like past proclivities pop up, I think that's when a lot of people revert and go back. And I will admit that I struggled too. At first, I made these negotiations with myself where I'd get to run 2 miles and then I'd weight lift. I couldn't go like 5 miles of running to like just resistance training with an emphasis on progressive overload. No, admittedly, I was doing circuit training at first, and I was doing like 2 miles of jogging, and then getting into lifting, and then like slowly titrating the running down, and like slowly titrating the lifting up. But it came with weight gain, and it came with, in like healthy weight gain, because when you've been under eating, you're very small because you're under eating, and that's not like a good thing. So the weight gain isn't bad, but my clothes fit different. You start to grow a booty, and then like everything's tighter in the thighs. Like everything's tighter in the thighs, and it's tighter in the butt. You're really coming into a completely new body and lifestyle than you've ever known. And I think it's natural to have apprehension around that, but it's like really setting yourself up so that no matter how scared you are, you can keep going. And that's why I think even coaching is really helpful for a lot of people, because when they're kind of having that panicky moment, they have that coach that they can message in that moment who can kind of like talk them through it, educate them, and create that accountability to keep them going, as well as having a good support system in your life. I think that especially making these monumental changes, I know that Sean was really pivotal for me in helping keep me going. And so trying as much as you can to get the people in your life supporting you and kind of bought in as well.
A really good answer.
Yeah, that's really good. That is so good. And there is so many people that are in that phase where they're trying to kind of transition out of what they know life to be. And it is so hard. And I know I can relate to you so much when you're talking about having, it's like you're having one foot in the door, but the other is like still back there, like, ooh, I still want to keep it right here because you're holding on to this old person, this old body, this old weight. And it's almost like I always like to say it's like your little crab and you're trying to like come out of your shell and go into a bigger shell. So I kind of want to ask you, like, what were you feeling emotionally when you were transitioning there? Because I know it's hard to see your clothes fit differently. Maybe you get a little bit more fat in your face, which is all so good. The scale goes up. What was that like for you? What was that kind of like tug and pull?
Yeah, so definitely had a lot of those like shocked moments of like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? I need to buy new jeans. Like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? I've gained 5 pounds. And like the old like runner is like, you could just go run another half marathon and lose 3 pounds. You could just skip dinner tonight. And like you could probably like your tummy would be flatter in the morning. And so it's kind of like the little devil on your shoulder, so to speak. And you like recognize that is no longer serving you. And there's a reason that you started on the new path in the beginning. I think one of the most motivating things that's really helpful in the opposite direction is just all of the cool shit that starts to happen once you start eating and changing your life. I had so much more energy and like mental clarity. And I was like, that's kind of addicting. It feels great to feel great every day. Like I'm no longer guzzling coffee because I'm actually eating calories every day. So I was like, I have way more energy. My sex life is way better because I have a much healthier libido. And the achievement that comes with lifting in the gym. When you're just a runner in the way that I was, for burning calories. How many miles equals how many calories? I wasn't really going for like a faster time or a new achievement or a more difficult course. Every single run, the only outcome desired was sweat and caloric burning. Versus when I started getting into resistance training, I was like, oh, there's these things called PRs. I can learn these new exercises. I can like pick up a heavier weight. I can shock myself and like do shoulder presses with like 30 pounds when I've only ever done 25 pounds. And so there's these like new levels of achievement that are also really motivating because they build confidence. You feel like you're actually getting better. You feel like you're learning a new skill. You feel like you're improving in something. And then you start thinking like, what could I do next week? Like what could I hit a deadlift?
It's
PR
so exciting.
like what's around the corner?
It's so true. And then you start to transfer from having these other dopamine hits that are honestly kind of unhealthy, where you're sweating 3 pounds of water off, dopamine hit, you're wake up with like a really flat tummy, all of those start transferring over to having new, healthy, strong ones where it's like, yeah, I'm PRing, I'm healthier. Like, oh, I was able to do a 25 pound shoulder press, and this week I can do 30 pounds. Like, I love that feeling. And it's about kind of like, how do we transfer over into these new and healthier dopamine hits? Kendall and I did a podcast before this where we were talking about replacing, bad habits with good habits, and how you get rid of that bad one is like, you don't just like try to get rid of it completely. You replace it with something that's going to be healthier for you and move you forward. And I love that you did that with lifting.
Yeah, you guys are so spot on that you have to replace it with something healthier, because it's like we're not talking about quitting exercise. You know, because a lot of people that are under eating and over exercising are addicted to exercise. And the idea of like lowering exercise in any way can be extremely daunting and like extremely intimidating. And it's like, no, you don't have to like omit it and quit it. You can just switch to a different form. And so when you're having those like pulls towards those past proclivities that you knowingly want to get away from, I think like hyper focusing on the new levels of achievement and like the new exciting things about the journey can keep you moving in the positive direction and keep you moving forward.
I love that so much. I'm thinking back to when I was like first starting in the gym and how exciting it was to move into this new phase of my life where I was literally like that nerd at the gym with the logbook. And I was like, okay, this week I did this. And then next week I'm going to do this. And I just couldn't wait for my next workout because it was so empowering to be able to feel strong instead of feel stripped and weak. And then that's one of those things that is difficult for me for being a professional bodybuilder is that I have to get so shredded and lean that I go back to feeling like that cardio bunny person that I used to be, where I had no energy, I had no sex drive, and all I was doing was literally working out, burning off the calories immediately. And I lose that power that I feel when I have PRs because I can't do them anymore because I have no strength. And it's sad.
Yeah.
Just a new to the gym feeling either. I feel like I've been lifting for like over 10 years now, and I still every year find that new thing to be excited about or try or change. And so just a reminder for the people listening that are like, well, I'm not there. Like I've been doing this a long time. It's like you can still be excited and still find things to like motivate you to keep going or try something new or even switch from like bodybuilding to powerlifting to CrossFit, like find your outlet.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So the next question that I had for you is, what 3 tips would you give women listening to this right now that are in that past phase of kind of dealing with gaining weight, changing their body composition? What 3 tips would you give them to help them move past that and go into a new version of themselves?
That's a great question. So I would say start small. Always set like small incremental goals. If you're eating 1,200 calories in a day, don't decide that you need to eat 2,200 starting tomorrow. Setting like monumental, immediate life overhauls is likely setting yourself up for failure. And it's going to feel really frustrating and overwhelming. So like baby steps absolutely counts. If you're eating 1,200 calories, can you just eat 1,400 calories and start like very, very incrementally, make it work for you, make it easy, and build your way up. I would also say find somebody in your life that you can be honest with about like your new intentions and then what you're feeling along the way. That can be a friend, that can be your best friend, a gym buddy, that can be your partner, that can be a coach. But only keeping the intentions and the struggles internally, you will make excuses for yourself. If you're the only person that knows what you're trying to do, you probably purposely didn't verbalize your goal because you knew others would hold you accountable to it.
I feel attacked, Dayla. Oh my God, you're saying that, and I'm like, there's so many things that I've done where I don't tell my partner, and I love it. Sorry to interrupt.
I've been there too. Because you're like, well, if I just tell myself and then I don't do it, nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. Like nobody can ever judge me.
Nobody will know if I do it or don't do it, except for me.
Exactly. And in weak moments, we will rationalize whatever we want. You know, we make decisions emotionally and then we rationalize them logically, even if it makes no sense. So if you're struggling and you're like hating the journey, you'll talk yourself out of it. You'll start convincing yourself that all these signs are bad and that it's like way better to revert to the past life. And who's there to check you? Right.
Yes.
Accountability is good.
Gosh, I love that. So good.
And then probably the third one is, and this is a really hard one, really try to like not focus on what other people think about you, like particularly in the gym setting. I cannot empathize more with like gym intimidation, and you know, everyone's kind of worried to try and exercise for the first time or try a machine and sit on it backwards and then you feel like a dork and you know, you don't know what you're doing. But just show up every day. If you only go sometimes and you just walk on the treadmill and you just like scope out the gym, watch other people using the machines and kind of try to like learn that way. If you're not comfortable hopping on yet, if you need to go for like 5-10 minutes and you get overwhelmed and go home, that's fine. You got there for 5 or 10 minutes. And I bet you the next time you'll probably be there for 12 minutes or 15 minutes, or, you know, take a small set of dumbbells and a bench to a private corner and start testing some things out and getting the feel for things where you're not doing it in front of the mirrors with like all of the big jacked dudes, if that's too intimidating for you. But really, really, really just trying to show up, trying to kind of put your blinders on. Because if you obsess over like whether or not people can tell that you're new, you're kind of missing the point. You know, you're not really doing it for you anymore. You're in this mindset of doing it to be performative, or you want to be cool, or you want to be impressive. That's not why we're exercising.
That's such a good tip with the new year coming, because I know that comes a lot of newcomers to the gym and it can be overwhelming, intimidating. We do become kind of obsessed with the idea that everyone knows you're new and they're all paying attention to you. And I think like that reminder of everyone is thinking that, therefore no one is actually focused on you. We're all focused on.
Yeah, whenever I started at the gym, it was January. It wasn't January 1, but it was like January 16th or something like that. And oh my gosh, if anybody needs to feel better about themselves, they can come to my Instagram and go look at some old form videos of me. She was, you know what, she was learning and she was doing her thing, but like, God bless my spine back in the day and like my lower back, like, you know, we all have to like fumble some form sometimes before we learn.
It's so true. And I can think back to myself when I would be that person that grabbed the dumbbells and I would go into those little rooms where they did the classes and the class wasn't going on and I would be doing my workout. I have videos of me doing that because I was so freaking terrified. But there's no shame in doing that because it's been able to build us up to be the people that we are now, that like all three of us are able to record ourselves working out in the gym. I still now get so anxious when I go to the gym. Like I was there yesterday and I forgot how to use a machine at my gym that I always go to. And I had a fucking panic attack. I was like, I'm an IFBB fucking pro and I don't know how to use this damn machine. And I was like, chill. Who gives a fuck? Nobody cares. It's okay.
No one noticed that.
Not that many people. We always think everyone is staring daggers at us, but Kendall was saying before, which I really loved, is that everybody is thinking the same thing. Everyone's
focusing on themselves.
Yeah. Everyone's worried about, oh shit, what am I doing? How are people looking at me?
Yeah. Sean told me a really fascinating study that they did where they had somebody go into the gym in like this huge oversized Care Bear t-shirt that was like rainbow colors everywhere. And it was just kind of like a hilarious, ridiculous outfit with the intention of getting people's attention. And so they asked the individual wearing the Care Bear shirt on their way out, were people looking at you? Did everybody see you? And they were like, oh, 90% of people noticed me in the gym. Did you see what I was wearing? Did you see what I was doing? I looked ridiculous. Everyone was staring at me. I was getting eyes all over the place. Everybody saw me. Everyone's aware of my presence. So then they polled all of the gym goers on their way out. Like, did you notice an individual in a Care Bear t-shirt? And it was like 10 to 15% of them even noticed. Oh, so the perception of the person in the shirt was everyone's looking at me, when everyone else was like, who are you talking about?
That is so wild. Like I love studies like that just like prove our idiocy. It's like bam, right there. I love that. What was the question you wanted to ask her, Kendall?
You know, I feel like I keep cutting in and out.
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to ask, because the three of us are in similar spots now. We've been in the gym a long time. We have this healthy relationship with like our workouts and our food. And we all have this kind of entrepreneurship tied to it. Where do you see yourself going now? Like, what is exciting you now? What do you want to move into or just continue working on for yourself?
Yeah. So I like what you said earlier about like, there's just always new goals to set, especially from a gym perspective. It's just limitless, right? So as far as my, relationship with food and relationship with exercise, the sky's the limit. You can like, I always want to like lift heavier. I always want to become stronger. I always want to become more skilled. And I think that a lot of the habits that you have in the gym and the strength that you feel also influences your entrepreneurial spirit and makes you like way more daring and confident, because when you can see yourself overcome, challenges, even on that microscopic level of like, I couldn't do a 225 deadlift and now I can. You're like, well, I've never tried this new like lead gen strategy, but who's to say I can't figure that out? Who's to say I can't figure that out too? So, it's kind of a nice like symbiotic relationship of like working on yourself, and then it in tune gives you the confidence to keep working on your business and keep achieving new things. This is an interesting year for me because I'm also newly pregnant. So from like I'm in a little bit of a different mindset, because like from a business and exercise perspective, I'm a little bit more like babies kind of come in as like the forefront focus. So, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I want to make this year like my biggest year in business ever. It's a little bit more like, how can we just keep doing what we're doing in a sustainable way, which is also a really nice balanced mindset that I think once you heal your relationship with food and exercise, you're also okay with the periods where stability and like maintenance is okay as well. You're no longer living in the extremes or the all or nothings that can come from those restrictive, obsessive mindsets. It can be like, wow, everything is just so great and I feel so great every day. How can I just, maintain this? How can this just kind of become the new lifestyle? So keep achieving at work, like keep going to the gym, keep up all of these healthy habits. And, even if I don't make monumental achievements this year, just maintaining this fantastic new lifestyle that I advocated so hard for and I worked so hard for, that in itself is a really powerful win.
I love that.
I do. I love that so much. Because like one thing that I realize in life is that we have seasons where we push and we have seasons where I don't know if it's necessarily pull back or if we just like live. Like for me, those seasons are prepping for a show, not prepping for a show. So it's like in season, off season. And I had a struggle dealing with those times where I wasn't pushing, where I wasn't pushing to win a show. I wasn't pushing to get a trophy. I wasn't pushing to be the best person that I could be on stage. And I struggled with that quote unquote low time. But those are the times where you can really do so much. And it's crazy. Like you said, you're newly pregnant and having that stable relationship, stable business, fitness goals, healthy relationship with food. Now you can really focus on this new aspect of life. You're going into, like we said earlier, a little crab. You're going into a completely new shell. Like you're becoming a mom and you're learning how to like do life with a human growing in your belly. And I think that this is a perfect transition to like, if you're comfortable, talk about that transition because it's incredible. And honestly, I need some tips because whenever that happens to me.
I love what you were saying about pushing. I don't know if you've ever read I don't know if you've ever read Peak Performance, but it talks about this recipe of stress plus rest equals growth, which like you would understand extremely well with like what you do in bodybuilding. But the same can be said in life, because it's like if you're always pushing without the rest, you don't grow, like you're really stagnant. And so it's like recognizing that rest has like an amazing place and like growth is on the other side of those rest periods too, those like coasting periods. Definitely. And like allowing them to be okay.
Yeah. And I think that people really struggle with that, even fitness related, in those pushes where they only find worth through being shredded. And then when they go into a bulk or a growing phase, they see it as a kind of like a disservice to themselves. And like, oh, and it's like, really, guys, the most growth is done in those bulks and in those off seasons when you have the calories and the energy. And it's so wild to me. Like we need those rest periods for everything in life.
Completely. But on a pregnancy note, interestingly, like everything that we just talked about so far about, healing your relationship with food and exercise and like, they're in your body image, it's really freaking helpful when you become pregnant.
Wow.
Because I've done the whole like, oh, the scale's going up. Oh, my clothes are fitting tighter. Oh, like this isn't, I'm not sweating like I used to when I did a bunch of cardio. Like, this is a whole new adjustment. Pregnancy will do that same thing to you. And any moms listening are like, oh girl, because if I'm first trimester right now, so I haven't even gone the whole distance, but it's like, you wake up and some days baby's like, you're not working out today. Like, you're nauseous. You don't feel that great. And it's like, you might know what you want to do today, but now you need to like adjust to this new reality and like meet yourself where you're at. And you just can't kind of perfectly micromanage your life anymore, because there's this whole introduction of symptoms and needs from your body. Maybe it needs more rest, or you're more nauseous, or you have headaches, or you're not feeling as strong in the gym. And so even if you're like, but I have to work out 5 days a week, and I have to eat like this, and I have to have this regimen, and I have to have this routine, it really kind of shows you that like you need to be flexible, and like your clothes are going to get tight again, and you're going to feel really bloated, and the scale is going to go up all the time. And like, I can't really work on my delts right now, like as much as I'd love to, like, that's not the primary goal. The goals have to completely shift. But there's also something really beautiful in that, in getting to a place where you're like, exercise is going to be there my entire life. I'm going to be pregnant for 9 months, and I'm going to be able to create life in doing so, and like go on this whole new motherhood adventure. And like, this is temporary. And so that also applies to people that might be on that healing journey where they feel like, they're gaining weight and they're going in a direction that they didn't initially want. Like, maybe they want body recomposition or fat loss, but they've been under eating for so long that now they kind of have to go on this more like health phase, gain weight, eat a little bit differently, like take their foot off of the gas. And they're like, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I want to be pushing. Like what you were talking about earlier. I just want to push. And like recognizing like, that's not really under my control right now. What my body needs from me is this, even if it's not like 100% aligned with like what I'd love to see in the mirror in my perfect world. But knowing like fitness is for life, whether you have to take like 6 months off of the gym for whatever reason, or you're injured, or you have to go on a hormone healing journey, or you're pregnant. It's not, this isn't the end of my road. This isn't like, well, I had a good run lifting. Yes, see you later. I'm never going to have like nice quads again. And just like recognizing that it's completely temporary, and the gym's like always going to be there for you again in the future.
I love that so much. That is so good. And it's so true, because we go into all these different phases in life, and like I've done the same thing where I think like, oh, well, I'm done. That's it for me. Like, I have to take a year off of bodybuilding to grow, and I'm dying because I can't be in a push phase. But the angel on my shoulder is saying like, Julia, you need this rest phase so that when you're in a push phase, you can come out and be the most like incredible competitor. And I really truly believe the same is for you. You're using this 9 months to really rest and like figure out like this new body and these new feelings that you're having, and like becoming a mother and implementing that into your life and your business and your relationship. And then after, I have a feeling, knowing a little bit about you, is that you're going to be like, let's push, like, let's go.
Same with you. Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, and during this time, like you've had like the exact same experience of having to recognize, like, you're buying into that long-term vision. Like, you're like, I really want to push right now, but I'm not going to push for the next year, because it's like, what will give me the best outcome eventually? And, zooming out from this, that creates space for things that aren't even just fitness and nutrition related. What's really cool about those like non-push phases in your fitness journey specifically is they create space for hobbies or travel, or like, I don't know, new skills that you want to learn or take up. And life isn't all about fitness. Like, we all love fitness on this podcast, but it's like, our lives aren't just like what we're eating and what we're doing in the gym. You can be well-rounded as well. And there's like the beauty in those non-push phases is like, could I take up painting? Could I take up pottery? Could I learn a new language? Could I like finally go visit that friend that I've like wanted to go see forever? Because now you have the space to do that, because you're not in an all-out prep phase, where that's like consuming your whole world.
Yeah, and that's why this podcast is a thing. Oh my God, there's a spider right in the middle of us. Sorry.
He dropped
He dropped
perfectly
in the
between
middle
while
of
she
us.
was talking. I was like, I'm not going to interrupt her. I'm not going to interrupt
Thank you
her.
for not doing that because I would have legit freaked the fuck out. Well, I did.
I couldn't even see it. It's scary.
I feel like that was a good transition.
Scared the shit out of me. I hate bugs. Anyways, a little bit more on the pregnancy aspect. I know that you're passionate about I don't even know what this is, but when we were messaging earlier, you said IVF and fertility. What is that?
We were both like, what? But like, we're also not in the stage where we're like,
Yeah.
attempting to get pregnant.
Oh yeah. So I realize it is still pretty niche. Only like 11% of couples will go through IVF. So IVF is in vitro fertilization
Oh my
for
God,
people
no.
that struggle with infertility. You've probably heard of in
Yes.
vitro fertilization. You just haven't seen the acronym.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's how Sean and I are pregnant.
Oh my God.
Actually.
That's amazing.
How was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
process?
What's the process of IVF?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pretty wild ride, but high level. So we have male factor infertility, which means that Sean, unfortunately, like isn't fertile in such a way where we can get pregnant the traditional method of just having sex. So what they do, I'll try to simplify the steps in IVF. They prep my body to be able to like harvest as many eggs as possible. This usually takes like 10 days to 2 weeks, depending on the woman. And it's just a series of medications, injections, and the goal is to get as many eggs in one fell swoop. You guys probably know, like when we ovulate every month, we just release one egg. In IVF, they're like medically inducing a scenario where they're hoping to get 10 eggs, 20 eggs, 30 eggs by just overstimulating your body to produce. At the same time, like literally on the same day that they harvest your eggs, if your partner or the donor that you're using is not infertile, they just provide a sample. Or in the case of Sean and I, they actually do a quick procedure on him as well to try to extract as many healthy sperm as possible. And then they combine sperm and egg in actual petri dishes. That's a real thing. When they say petri dish babies, they are serious. They're petri dish babies.
Petri dish baby.
Yeah, so
They should name them Petri.
Yeah, I know. It's like, should our son be named like Peter or something to like honor the process?
I love it. Well, I'm so happy for you. Was it a long process in order to figure all of this out?
Yeah, it took us about 14 months of treatment from the time that we started getting diagnosed to the time of getting pregnant. I think because a lot of couples that are young and healthy, they tell you to just go start trying for like 6 months to a year. Mm-hmm. So that already kind of like gets a lot of time under people's belts, because we were trying for about 8 months before we sought treatment. And then we were in treatment for like 14 months.
Wow.
So
that's incredible. Well, I'm so happy for
Yeah,
you.
congratulations.
Yeah, there's this
thank you.
new road that you're going down. I love it. Now, I kind of want to transition more into, if you're open to it, kind of you and your husband's relationship. I know that it's been really pivotal for both of you guys, business-wise, and everything that y'all do together. So how is it working with your partner?
Yeah, just in general?
Yeah.
Right now, things are especially good. That's definitely been colored by IVF. It's been a really trying and, like difficult thing to navigate. So I think that there's had to be like extra buy-in and extra support, we kind of just haven't been like going along through life where you like have decent communication and like you have the ebbs and flows. When you're kind of like in it and really focused on a goal together, you really have to like drop egos, like sacrifice for each other. And it's no longer like, did you unload the dishwasher? I've been taking out the trash more than you, or like, I don't know, like you're not, giving me all the things that I need. We're more focused on like an outward goal. And that's really been a powerful connector, thankfully. So it's really bonded us like even more than we had been previously.
I love that. I feel like in relationships, there's 3 aspects to the relationship. There's you, there's your partner, and then there's the relationship. And I feel like those little like nitpicky things that I do all the time, Zach's probably ears are ringing right now, but those things where it's like, I do this, you do that, maybe we should do this. Like those are when we're kind of talking about our individual selves as a relationship. And I feel like right now you guys are in that phase where you're really focusing on like, okay, us together, it's go time. I love
I
that.
love that you talked about the third party, because you're like one of the only other people that I've heard mention that. We had a relationship coach at the start of IVF, just because we were like, we probably need to like get on the same page hardcore if we're gonna, go through something. And honestly, I think that all couples should try it at some point, because it's just like, how does it hurt? Kind of like therapy. But she said that it's like there's Sean, there's me, and then the relationship is a third party entity. And our primary goal is not like for Dayla to get her needs met or for Sean to get his needs met. The relationship is winning when that third party entity is winning. So like even when it comes to conflict, it's Sean is not right. Dayla does not need to apologize. Like in that exact way, it's like we need to come to the compromise where the relationship is the ultimate winner. Like it's never about the individuals. And ever since she said that to me and we started making that shift, it's been truly like life-changing for our relationship, because you stop nitpicking each other as much. And it's not just like me, they should anticipate all of my needs and be my mind reader. It's like, how can I express myself in a powerful way to advocate for the relationship?
Exactly.
And totally reframes things.
I bet that's been so pivotal in like y'all's relationship. Like that mind shift alone is going to help so many people listening to this, because we do get so centered in like the me aspect. What am I not getting? What do I need from this relationship? And if you go into conversations with anybody, really, like even Kendall and I, we're best friends. There's Kendall, there's me, then there's our relationship. But if you go in with the intention and the passion behind like, how can we better this relationship together? Like, what do you need? What do I need? And how can we make that ebb and flow so that we have a unbreakable bond together?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of, all of the resources and kind of education that's been out there in the past few years about setting boundaries and like removing people from your life that don't serve you, and like cutting off anyone, you don't owe them an explanation, cutting out toxic people. I think that's been helpful to a degree. And like, certainly if somebody is bad for your life and your mental health, like I absolutely agree with like setting boundaries and cutting them off. But I also think in some ways it's potentially been misinterpreted as like everything should be about me, and like maybe people hear that not knowingly being selfish or not knowingly, being inappropriate, but they're just like, yeah, it is about me. Are my needs getting met? Like, what about me? What is this person doing for me? How are they serving me? How's their energy affecting me? But when you're in a relationship, it's just not all about you. It's this agreement that, again, like it's 50-50, and it is about that third party entity. And so I think it's like really powerful to remember that, especially in a little bit of like the culture that we're seeing today, because we can't just be myopic. If we want to be entirely myopic and all about ourselves, then we shouldn't be in relationships.
I had never heard anybody explain it in that way. And I love it so much, because you're right. This energy, it's coming from a really good place, but it can be very negative on the other hand, where it's like, ain't nobody, they're not meeting my needs, bye. You're not doing this for me, bye. And for me, I think there's so much growth in trying to deal with difficult people. Like there's been so many difficult people in all of our lives, and it's so much easier to just be like, nah, I'm not dealing with it. Nah, like it's definitely easier if you and your partner are fighting just to say, forget it, whatever. But there's so much growth in trying to realize the other human, because we are all completely different humans, but we don't realize that when we're talking. We're like, why don't you do things this way in this order like I do? You're dumb for doing it the way that you do. But we're a different human meeting a different human, and we need to figure out, how do we coexist together? And I love that, because that energy of the society today is a good one, but I do see a lot of that energy being...
There's a lot of narcissistic behavior. And I feel like it's refreshing. Like, I know we're both like painfully self-aware. It's refreshing also hearing like another new viewpoint of being self-aware and really viewing like other people's needs almost even more so above yours, but not too above. Like there's a balance there.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, to your point about kind of like narcissistic, like how it can come across as narcissistic, nobody says like, you know what, I totally messed up and I bailed on you. Cut me out of your life. I'm toxic. Do it to me. Please do it to me. Set those boundaries. Like I suck. I don't deserve another chance. No, when it comes to us, we want grace. We want space to make mistakes. We want understanding. We'd like second chances. We'd like opportunities to communicate. We'd like containers to explore feelings. We have to give the same things to other people. We can't expect all of like the grace and patience and space for ourselves. But then if anyone bugs us at all, they're gone. And we're just going to like, sass pants. I held my boundary. Isn't that so awesome of me that I just like nixed that person who was really important in my life?
Yeah. And I think this can be difficult too, especially like with all the holidays like around the corner and past by the time you're listening to this, is like the family dynamics and all of that that brings as well. Because I know a lot of these relationships are actually intertwined in your family. And it's not so easy to just cut your family out. It might be easier to cut out that like friend you talked to one time that broke a boundary. It's like, all right, bye, bitch, or whatever. But then it's like when it's a family, like that's where it gets really, really challenging. And a partner too. It's like you have to do these things, these really difficult and uncomfortable conversations in order to grow with this person if, they are positive in your life. Because sometimes they might not be.
You're absolutely right. Family is for sure the hardest. Because it's like, okay, I want to cut this person out of my life, but I'm going to see them next weekend at the family event. That's definitely harder to navigate.
For real. Well, I love that so much. Now, one thing to kind of like wrap up the podcast, there's so many good nuggets here, but the one thing that we ask people, because our podcast is the Know Your Power podcast, and we teach you how to be physically, spiritually, and mentally fit. Like all these aspects of your life are so important. And we always ask our guests, when was the moment that you knew how powerful you really were?
Oh, that's a great question.
Everyone usually needs a minute. So if you need a minute to
yeah. Okay, no, I think I know it. So going back to being like blogger Dayla, not really knowing what trajectory I was going to be on, started coaching people, like still didn't have a lot of like awareness of like impact or, just like was hoping I was doing a good job. Our company is DLD Nation now, and that was a title that like our community of clients self-proclaimed. They started making it like a hashtag, and they started calling themselves members of DLD Nation. And like, I'm proud to be in DLD Nation. Like, we are DLD Nation, and we changed the whole company name because of that. Because at the time it was Dayla, like Dayla's fitness company. And I think that was just a really pivotal moment, because I was like, wow, there's something happening here. Like, this isn't anymore like a nurse that's like blogging on the side. People are being impacted in a really powerful way. And I think I became aware of like my ability to impact others. Even though I'd been doing it for a few months, it just really hadn't dawned on me that like my actions can have a significant impact on others. And even if you're listening and like you don't own a company and you're not a coach, the same absolutely applies to you. That like your actions, the way you carry yourself, the way you interact with other people, the way that you like love other people, the energy that you give them has a massive, massive impact on others. And I think that makes you hyper aware of your own power, and then wanting to like nurture that power to make it even better, because then your impact is even better.
It's a beautiful answer.
It is. And I love that you did mention that, like, it doesn't matter if you own your own business, if you have followers, none of that shit matters, because how you carry yourself out throughout the day, even if you say, hi, how are you, to that person at the checkout that you can tell is having a really rough day, even though it's so tiny, you impacted that person so much, because maybe someone in their family passed away. Maybe they're struggling in their relationship. Maybe they don't know if they're going to make rent. And you taking time to shine your light helped them so much. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do, you can spread that everywhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dayla. This has been so incredible having you on and getting to really get to know you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Dayla Loves Dumbbells. And then our website for all the fun things we do is dldnation.com.
Cool, guys. And we'll also put it in the show notes for you. So you can go and find her Instagram, sign up for her coaching, really get to know her and her incredible husband. And I'm just so excited to see the impact that you are going to continue to have. And I'm so glad to know you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today. This was a ton of fun.
Of course. Well, guys, that's going to be it for today's podcast. And as always, we love you all so much, and you are more powerful than you think. Bye. Your little voice. Bye. Oh, that was awesome, Dayla.
Yeah, that was
amazing
so fun.
energy. I love it.
Very incredible.
You guys
We covered
are,
so
I got to
much.
give you guys a compliment. You guys are really good podcast hosts.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, but I've been on a lot of podcasts, and like you guys have like a really good flow and like great questions, and yeah.
I'm glad, because of the whole time I'm like in my head, I'm like, am I doing this shit right?
No, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I feel like it fully depends on the episode. It's always like one of us taking a little more like lead, and we just kind of like let it roll.
Exactly. Yeah, because I feel like I had like a personal connection to you, even though I've never met you in person. So I was like, and
We
it's
used
so
to go to
easy.
that gym together. I'd like see you.
Yeah, at what was it, the Golds?
Big Tex.
Was it?
Oh, Big Tex too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Big Tex, I think, is where I first knew you. And this was like pre your journey. This was like when you were like my size.
I know. It's so crazy, like how much has happened for both of us in like the past couple of years. And I'm so happy for you guys. I know that you guys have been trying for such a long time. Zach and Sean are friends. I don't know how long they've known each other, but I'm so happy for you. That's really cool.
Yeah, super happy for you guys and all that you've been achieving and becoming a freaking pro and all of that. I feel like it's been like a wild and fast ride.
It has. It has.
Since I've met her, I'm like, you're a different person. And like, I bring it away. Something like having friends just like flourish.
Yeah. I like to be in the seasons of pushing, and I'm learning how to be in the seasons of just being.
You seem to have a really good balance with that.
You do.
It's really nice to hear, because like I don't know, I'm not pregnant, and I even have a hard time being like, hey, you can have some rest, like let alone having this like factor and thing that you need to take rest for. Like I know for me it would still be really hard, even though I've come a long way. So it's really cool hearing like how good of a balance you have.
I admire that.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's definitely hard some days, but overall, yeah, you kind of like, I just gotta like let it be, ride the wave.
Let it be. It's
especially it's this thing you've been wanting and like on this journey for so it's not like you just got pregnant. It's like you've been working on this pregnancy for over a year already, which is insane.
Yeah, I think if I had gotten like surprise pregnant, I could actually see it being more challenging. Like to your point, like women that are like, oh my God, I'm pregnant, and like I'm pregnant like with my partner that I wanted to have a baby with eventually, but like fuck, it's upon me. Versus like I was extremely prepared, so I knew it was coming.
Yeah, it gives you kind of that aspect of control back, because I feel like, I know for me, I really like to control every aspect of my life, and if I can't, I freak out. So
I think you have to be to be a professional bodybuilder.
A little
I
bit.
think you kind of have to be a control freak.
A little bit.
In like a good way though. Like if you're not a control freak, you're probably not that, I don't know, maybe not that good of an athlete.
Good.
Like I'm really not I'm chilling right now. Like I don't feel that like same drive you do for it.
Yeah, it's like a burning flame that makes me want to punch things, but in a good way.
You're just like you're like a lot more long-term off season, like grow phase.
Yeah, because I have been dieting just back to back to back, and my coach was like, you need a break. He's like, because each time that you dieting adaptation is a thing, and you can't get as shredded as you were the first time. I haven't been able to get as shredded as I was the first time I competed. And so he's like, we need to take a full year off. So that means I won't start a diet phase until July, which I'm like, but it'll be okay.
Well, you're kind of like halfway through the year off then. So kudos to you. Or like 5 months out of 7.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, that makes for great content because that's really an inspiring path. The whole like, even though maybe if your followers aren't competitors, the whole like you can't diet right now, even though you want to because you're doing it for your health. I think that's super relatable.
That's so true. And I've actually never used that as I've
Never
never talked about that as like an avenue of what my content has shifted to, because I do find it really hard because I have less attention on me when I'm not competing. So then I'm like, nobody gives a fuck, whatever, but
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially with like your audience and what you do in your podcast, I bet it's going to like resonate even more than you realize.
That's so true. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have so many podcasts and video ideas now. Well, thank you so much, Dayla. If you ever need anything from us, we'll always be here. I really appreciate you coming on, even though I know. And I'm sure we'll see you in person.
This is released.
Yes, it'll be released, I think, next Wednesday.
Amazing. That's exciting.
Yep. And we'll send you all of the
fast turnaround times are always fun. Every once in a while, I've done a podcast and someone's like, this will be released in 5 weeks. And I'm like, am I even going to remember to like,
I know. What did I even say?
Yeah.
We've been like, this past month, we filmed so many so that we were like all cut up for the year so that we didn't really have to do anything. And now we're like, oh shit, we're behind now. So that's why it's going to be next week.
So now you're restarting it all.
Yes.
Well, yeah, this was awesome. It was great meeting you too, Kendall.
Nice meeting you. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye, y'all.